Yeah.
unless it's
How-
very,
How's
very
how's
light
how's
ironwork.
his head been since? Is he still clear?
Well, he never was clear to begin with, so
Yeah.
we'll leave it at that.
True. True.
You know how brother-in-laws are.
Yeah. Welcome to the Top Contractor Podcast, the show that highlights the remarkable individuals who are shaping the construction industry and pushing its boundaries with engaging interviews, expert discussions, and real-world stories of success. I'm your host, Bill Reiman, your broker builder, here with my co-host.
Nate Swink, what's up, Billy? How you
What's
doing?
up? What's up, man? Happy New Year. Holidays are past us. How'd the holidays go for you, man?
Good, good, good. Pretty mellow. Mellow. Kind of got caught up on work and some systems I've been wanting to start creating. Spent some time on those and golfed, the
There you go.
important things.
There you go. Important things, of course. Yeah, when you can get out these days with that new baby, man, that's what matters, right?
Yes, sir. Spending time with family too. Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, yeah. We pretty much we hosted this Christmas and probably won't host next year, so we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
It's always tough hosting, especially we had the bright idea of doing it this year for everybody with a newborn, and yeah, that was
Yeah,
next year.
I got to give your wife Liz props though. That prime rib you were cooking up the other day. That thing looks pretty good. And that's a good present. That Traeger.
Oh yeah, yeah.
She's
That was the first time using the Traeger, and that thing came out flawless.
Well,
So
that was a selfish motive on her part. She didn't buy you that grill for you. She bought the grill for her.
it's true. I've cooked on it almost every night since too. Had some chicken, had steak on it last night, so she is living it up with that thing. So very good present, but for her also as well. So
Yes, sir.
but
Let's
yeah,
jump into it.
episode's sponsored by Traeger Grills. Anybody? No, I'm just kidding. But Nate, before we get started, actually today we're getting into some construction news. Wanted to make that announcement. It's been a minute since we've done that. So we're excited to kind of catch up on some news, some of the topics out there in the construction industry. But before we get into it, Nate, what's the show about?
All right. So the Top Contractor Podcast, we have three different styles of episodes. Number one is a deep dive into a specific topic. Number two is an expert interview. No bozos, no no-shows, no losers allowed. And number three is construction news. And that's what we're jumping in today. Like Bill said, we got three news topics that we're going to hit on and, spend 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is on each one to bring the point home and give you guys some value.
We got some good topics today too. I feel like a lot going on in the industry. It's been a while since we did the news, and excited to be here with you guys. Happy New Year to everybody! Before we get started, though, you know the routine: like, share, comment, subscribe. Spend a little time. Tell your friends and family how great this show is. It's a top construction show on all of podcasts, all of the internet. So please share it with your friends and family. And hey, let's get into the news here. The first topic, man, construction had the most fatalities of any industry last year. That's a
We
big
won.
topic.
No, that's horrible.
That's yeah. But um they said in specific job categories, construction also counted several of the most. It was counted as through other ones compared to other ones. It was one of the most dangerous professions out there. Roofers ranked as the second most dangerous profession overall. So being on
Yes,
a roof, very dangerous.
we scored iron workers. We scored
Yeah, you were in there too.
fourth. We scored fourth and eighth.
Yeah,
We're on there twice. We're on there
loggers.
twice. Two in the
Ooh,
top 10. That's how you know we're good.
they said loggers were ahead of you. They
Yeah,
said
well,
57 and a half deaths per 100,000 workers, behind only loggers. That was with roofers actually being the top one. But
that's
um,
crazy.
Yeah, and structural steel iron workers at a rate of 21.3, ranking fourth and eighth, like you said. So, how do you feel about that, iron workers? You guys got to keep it pretty safe. You got a lot of sparks flying, you know.
Most of that's from like here. If you go to, and I'm got all my notes, I'm flipping through. So if you go to like, there's so here we're referencing an article from Construction Dive Brief. Construction had the most fatalities of any industry last year. We'll have the link in the comment section.
ConstructionDive.com. So if you guys want to go check any of these articles out, we'll link them. Hopefully the team links them because Nate and I don't do that. But yeah, we'll have these articles linked to you guys too. It's all from one really good website for construction news.
Yeah, so if you look at like what makes up the fatal events or exposures, right? Number one is falls, slips, and trips. Two is transportation incidents, which that one's pretty interesting. Three is exposure to harmful substances or environments. Four is contact with object or equipment. So, like the ironworker one, we deal with all of that stuff, man. You got heavy pieces of steel flying at you with a crane. So you've got, you know, contact with objects. You've got fall hazards, slip hazards, trap hazards, trip hazards, everything all at once, you know? So that's definitely why that plays such a big part.
Yeah, they called it the Fatal Four, and they were falls, struck bys, caught in betweens, and electrocutions,
Yep.
ranking
Literally
the
all of
top
that
four.
is structural steel right there. Like
Jeez.
all of it.
So, have you dealt with any personally with your guys?
Deaths? No,
Yes.
no deaths, but I've actually
No.
had um buddies who've been on larger projects. One was the Chumash Casino up in San Ynez in California, like Central California, and they had two deaths on that project. I think that was like a 6-story building, so it was pretty small in
Well,
comparison, and they had a few deaths on it. Yeah, a lot of it is just falls, you know, guys not being tied off.
hmm
Could be safety negligence, or it could be, you know, just not paying attention, not having spotters, you know,
proper training,
proper training. Yeah,
not
one
having
thing
enough
that,
throwing employees out in the field too quick because you're trying to get the, with the demand the way it is being as high as was, not having the proper training.
yeah, and I've made that mistake before, and since then I'm like, no way. Back when I was first starting, my brother-in-law actually was working with me, and this was when I had my bags on and I was working, hanging steel and erecting steel and welding and all that good stuff. And a column wasn't secured properly to the foundation, a steel column, and there was a concrete wall with like a foot gap in between, and his head was stuck in between them, and the column laid over.
Ooh,
Luckily, he was wearing a hard hat, but it crushed the hard hat, and I yanked
wow.
him out, dude. And his head, the human body is amazing. His skull was literally like 2 or 3 inches narrower, and it didn't crack. It like
Jeez.
flexed. And I looked at his head and I was like, holy shit. And this is right after he married my sister, and she's pregnant. She was like 8 months pregnant. So I was
Wow.
like, oh my God, I think I just killed my brother in law, dude. My sister's going to hate me forever. So yeah, since then, it's like, yeah, if you don't have experience, you're not allowed out here
Yeah.
unless it's
How-
very,
How's
very
how's
light
his,
iron
how's
work.
his head been since? Is he still clear?
Well, he never was clear to begin with. So, you know,
Yeah.
we'll leave it at that.
True. True.
You know how brother-in-laws are.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely, definitely. That's crazy, man. Yeah, I think we've had very minimal issues. I think a long time ago, maybe somebody fell down an elevator shaft at one point on site. Basically negligence, not paying attention, not doing the proper things, and just kind of went right over and right down almost 3 stories. So survived, was okay, ended up okay, and but just crazy stuff, man. You in construction, you just gotta be very vigilant in what you're doing, and aware, but you got to do it right too. And you got to have these guys wearing straps and so on, because I've seen these guys, they're up on roofs, they're walking around not strapped up, and it's just walking on the edges of tie beams and stuff like that. And it's like, just like they're tiptoeing, and it's just one little gust of wind or something can take them right down too.
Yep.
It's
A
crazy.
fart, anything.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You never know.
Dude.
So,
So yeah, that's another thing too, is when your company is scaling to, once it's at a certain size, you need to have either a part-time or full-time designated safety officer
hmm.
in the company. They also make um, safety compliance companies where, like, once a month, once a week, whatever you want, once a quarter, they'll randomly show up to your, they don't tell you when, they'll randomly show up to your facility, your office, all your job sites, just start taking pictures and taking notes. So that's another option for somebody who's, you're not at that level yet. And they actually have that on a lot of the projects where we're at, either the GC on the commercial jobs or larger residential jobs. The GC will either have their in-house safety officer or a third-party service. And man, if you get caught, even with minor infractions, I mean, that safety officer sends photos via email to the owner of the company, VP construction, everybody, and you're freaking blasted. You look like a jackass for the littlest thing. So, I mean, safety's a big deal.
Yeah, it's huge. I think it's not. I mean, it's a huge deal, and I think a lot more construction companies should take it more seriously too. I think hiring somebody, like you said, is a really good idea, especially when you have a ton of employees and your company grows too. Like, right now ours is manageable. We subcontract out a lot, but our internal employees, I mean, they're very good at managing and making sure things are the way they should be too, because we can do that. But as we grow, we're going to have to consider having somebody that just goes around and evaluates that type of thing too.
Yeah,
Because
for sure.
anything that happens, man, it's on you, the builder and the homeowner, and it can be an insurance nightmare too, as
Yep.
well. And you don't want your clients getting into that, your homeowners you're working with, and because of your negligence as the builder too. So that's
Yeah,
just looking at
much
it from my perspective.
much less a dead employee.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's
that wouldn't be good. Not good at all. So yeah, let us know what you guys think on that topic. Nate, you got anything else on that too? Because I know it's majority. You deal with it a lot on your end, man. What you guys are doing with structural
Yeah, we deal with
steel
it a
and
ton. I would just say one thing, because I was a bad at safety, right? I really was negligent with the safety of the workforce, just because I was like, get it done. Fuck it. I'll get up there and do it if you don't. Come on, hurry up. Because sometimes structural ironwork, you can't always tie off, right? Like 8 out of 10 times you can tie off, but sometimes there's nothing to tie off to. So it can be dangerous. So it's just a matter of getting creative with your team, is what I've done, and phased out of that immature phase of like, just get it done and like, who cares? Well, yeah, it's stupid, man. That was total stupid negligence on my part, things that I did back in the day. Now what I do, we had a safety meeting this morning, and I asked guys, hey, how do you think we're doing on safety as a company? How can we improve from management side? How can you guys improve? What? Yeah, I see Billy taking notes. Come on.
no, I'm writing down what I'm going to say.
Oh.
That's how I remember. You see me jot down
Oh,
stuff because
and
I like what you
sometimes it,
just said there.
yeah, right. Sometimes it could be the simplest thing that the guys say, oh, we need this. Like today, one of them said, hey, the forklift, one of the forks is bent just a little bit. So it's knocking off. And dude, we don't haul pallets. We haul like 60-foot beams. So it's like teeter, teeter, teeter. If that stuff ain't dialed, it's kind of unsafe. So they're like, hey, it's knocking our load off a little bit. I'm like, no problem. I didn't even know about that. I'll get you bigger forks, heavier rated, so they'd never bend again, and they'll be here Friday or whatever, right? And someone else says, oh, we need some more slings or this and that or whatever it is. Just get out and and purchase that equipment. Now, on most of our jobs, because there is so many fall hazards, we have to like pre-plan. Hey, we're going to erect this piece of steel. When the guy's putting it up, where's he tying off from? Or, oh, we're going to be working on this roof. Where are our tie-off points? Oh, it's an existing roof. Okay, hey, we got to attach some stuff to the davits in the roof or whatever we're doing, and that's all part of our pre-construction plan. And that's really all it takes is putting a little more time and effort into it, and money. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, we have probably 20 G's in harnesses and retractables, and it's freaking expensive. But so is a
Yeah,
death.
but
And who wants to?
what's that insurance going to
Yeah,
cost you,
who
or
wants
what's
to
that?
live knowing like, your dead employee's family shows up at your office, dude?
Yeah, what's the lawsuit going to
That's
cost you?
pretty. It
What's the
makes
insurance? Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I mean, there's so many bad things that can happen. One thing you said, that's what I was writing down, is how often, for the listener, like somebody that's growing a company like yourself, how often should they have a safety meeting?
I would say so. We do a company wide one monthly, but I think legally you got to do it weekly.
Okay.
But we do it weekly and monthly. Company wide, it's monthly. Weekly, it's just in between the crews. Whoever's wherever they are. And we've actually led safety meetings on job sites. Some GCs are like safety Nazis, like crazy safety. Like if you're on a ladder and the ladder's leaning and it's not a lean safe ladder, boom, they'll write you up. Like some of that stuff is a little crazy, but I get it, right? It's like all or nothing. But we've actually done safety demonstrations for the whole job site on some projects. So it's we've really adapted it and made it part of the culture here, and just it is all or nothing. You got to just be super strict with it all, because all it takes is one little stupid incident and
Hmm.
somebody's jacked up.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. Love that, and good information too. If you guys got any questions, comments, whatever, please feel free to comment on this one. Love to hear kind of what you guys are doing to stop any kind of this from happening, because it is a big thing in the construction industry. Unfortunately, we are working in dangerous environments a lot of the time. So,
Well,
but
one
anyway.
one quick final note on that too. When you're reading statistics, always get relative information to back up what they're saying. Don't ever just trust anything you read or anything like that. And here's the case in point. They said that fatalities rose, let's see, 0.2%, or not 0.2%, from 9.4 per 100,000 to 9.6 per 100,000. Well, in the time that this study was done, um, employment was up 2.6%. So that plays a role why there's more fatalities, right? If you have 100 people working versus 1,000 people working, your fatality percentage per 100,000 is going to be greater because there's more people out there working. So that also makes articles make sense. So make sure that you're always looking at in the information. Vet the information. Make it make sense. Don't just, fake news and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Clickbait.
Yes, sir.
Next topic, let's get into it. Keep this moving. Construction input cost stabilizing, but volatility isn't dead. So, obviously, they're talking about in this article that the construction costs are starting to stabilize a little bit. Prices aren't really going up as fast as they were a year ago, which things were nuts a year ago. Um, but prices in my eyes aren't really going down either, but that's where they're talking about stabilizing. Things are still a little volatile in certain areas of the supply chain, but has gotten better, has gotten easier to get things as well. On my end, is that we're seeing things coming in, appliances, stuff like that, at a little bit more normal of a rate. Roof trusses, stuff like that too, that we're having major issues and backlogs on. have really opened up for us down where we're at. So, Nate, what do you got on this?
Yeah, if you look at the residential trends for large multifamily projects, those projects are kind of stalling a little bit. We have a few that are breaking ground, probably about 8 million of that work that's breaking ground this year. But those investors I know specifically, they have cash money. They're not getting loans, right? So a lot of this stuff could be stalling out because of the interest rates. Another thing to
Mm-hmm.
keep in mind with the some of the bills that Biden has passed in the last couple years, there's a huge initiative with construction of manufacturing plants. And I mean hundreds of billions of dollars of construction just this year, next year, scheduled already or in progress. So that will affect the market and availability of certain materials, probably in the commercial sector more than the residential sector. But that was some great statistics I spent like almost an hour reading on today, just how much money is getting put into, you know, auto manufacturer plants, new chip manufacturing plants since the initiative that he passed a couple years ago. So um, there's a huge amount of construction there, and on the infrastructure side as well. So there there might be some shortages on the commercial side at some point in the near future, just because of all that demand. But high end residential stuff, it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, I think they're also saying because of gas prices, which I mean, in my opinion, are still high. They're not as high as they were, but I mean, they're not $1.50 a gallon. So because of they're around $3 here, and I'm sure in your area, probably what $7, something like that, California.
Oh, I'm sure in some parts of California, honestly, this probably sounds stupid. I don't even pay attention to the cost of fuel, because it's not like I'm gonna walk to work. So I just pull up and we have an account. I say, "Hey, Swink's Welding," and fill it up. I don't even look at the price, but I think we're probably like 550 for
Yeah,
premium
if I
because
had
I
to
drive a
guess.
Mercedes, so I only use premium. So I
Oh,
think we're like
big
550
balling.
to $6.
Mercedes, big balling to work, huh?
Yeah, it's the cheap Mercedes, not the nice one.
And back to the topic, though. I mean, yeah, gas prices will help that drive down a little bit because obviously transportation costs, so on too, with trucking. And yeah, on our end, just uh, what I'm seeing, prices are a little more stabilized. I haven't really seen the downtick. I know there's people I've talked to that are kind of waiting for that downward trend. I don't think it's coming. I think there's just a new standard in pricing that was set going into the
Yep,
future, in my opinion. Here,
I agree.
I don't see a big downward swing that people
There's
are looking
yeah,
for. With interest rates being the way they are, too, like Nate just touched on, interest rates obviously being higher, less construction loans going out means less construction on the residential, on the smaller homes. I want to say on the luxury side of things, that really has not slowed down. Demand is still pretty high on the luxury end, but I think once interest rates are supposedly supposed to start ticking down this spring, so I think that might ignite some things as well, depending on the rest of the world and all the craziness going on. But um, I don't see. I think we basically just set a new standard of pricing is what we did, and they're kind of
yeah,
just going to
exactly.
stabilize there. Maybe the labor costs will go down a little bit if those guys get slow, but materials in general, I think are going to kind of sit where they're at.
Yeah, I think if you look at like since 2021, like 2020 was crazy, and then like 2021, we're just staying right in that range, and it's not going to change. We've just set a new precedence. If you look at the producer price index from like 2019 and back to like early 2000s, it was like very slow gradual change, and then at like 2020 just skyrocketed, and then we've like dipped down a little bit, but we've stayed still close to, you know, 40%, 50% cost increase on a lot of things. And that's just like the new normal.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I for people kind of waiting out there for, I'm gonna build a house when things dive down or dip down. I like I said, I can't see it. A lot of our subcontractors travel from afar. They travel about an hour to get to work, if not more, because the affordability in the towns we're building into is out the window. It's very hard to afford something, single family home for your family, for your family in this general area. I know, Nate, in California, you deal with a lot of that. There's probably a lot of people that commute as well where you're
oh
at
yeah, for sure.
too, and it's yeah, which adds to the cost. And the reason I'm saying this stuff is because, when people approach me, well, why is the cost so high? Well, that's one of the elements. I mean, labor costs are high because gas is high, because then they got to drive, they got to travel. They're not in this town. It's harder to get them to farther places because there's a lot of work everywhere else, even in the towns they're living in as well. Too, on top of the material costs have all gone up the last 4 years over time. And then on down here, we get hurricanes, and those drive material cost and demand up with roofing materials and drywall materials and so on too. So it's set a new precedent down here, basically a new standard of pricing. It is a lot more than what it was probably 4 years ago, but I think that's the norm, and not in every area maybe, but down here, yes, it's the norm. I can only speak for my own world and what I deal with too.
Yeah, and I don't think prices are going to swing too crazy um, with the election year and everything else. Like
Yeah,
everybody's going to mind their P's and Q's and make sure they don't piss off the American people. So I think from an economic standpoint, everything's going to be pretty solid. As far
yeah,
as cost of material, it's going to fluctuate, but it's not going to be anything major, nothing major like we saw at the beginning of COVID when things like doubled and tripled overnight almost. It was like,
yeah.
wow.
Lumber
So
prices.
yeah, I do think we're going to be up for a challenge, especially in California with labor costs coming into this new year, because I don't recall when it goes into effect, but like fast food workers, like they're starting to offer them like 20 something bucks an hour. So what is that going to do just for a laborer sweeping the job site? You know, now they're going to need to make that same amount of money or more, let's say.
That's
So
what we're having. That's what we're having to pay our laborers to sweep job sites. 20
yeah,
an
just
hour
20. Yeah, I think the burger
starting.
flipper is like 22 bucks or something like that, I
Mm.
heard. So I got to look into that and but yeah,
Yeah,
man.
well, all wages are up. That's why, I mean, people need more money to live. That's the thing, because the living costs more now. So obviously, with inflation and everything, they say inflation's down, but if you go to the grocery store, your grocery bill is still a lot more than what it used to be a couple of years ago. Maybe the grocery stores are keeping the prices the way they are until we all shut up and kind of forget about it, and just that's the new standard. But that's kind of with the building industry. That's with every industry right now, is everything's higher than what it was. And the only way the consumer can, I think, really control that is to stop buying. But you're not going to stop buying food. So, and you're not going to stop buying houses, and people need a roof over their head, or they need rentals, and the rental prices, even where I'm at right now, are high. They've gone from, I mean, a single bedroom apartment, I think, is like 2 grand now or something like that around here. It's like 1,800 to
Yeah,
two
that's a
grand.
that's about what it is out here too, man. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Pretty
So it's
wild.
like you factor all that stuff in, and it's like that's the new standard. It sucks. Is it going to change? I don't know. Is demand going to change? That's the thing, because then grocery stores are still full, malls are still full, people are still buying. There's more money being printed, so there is people with more money, some people with less, but um, yeah, I don't know. People are still buying, even if with less money coming in too. So it's kind of an odd area to to look at right now too, because who
Yeah.
knows where it's going to go. And with an election year too, things always they try and keep the economy going, but uh, we've had some weird election years in the past few years here, so which we won't
Yes,
get
we
into.
have.
Which we'll keep this show
We
non-political,
will leave
so
it at that.
we'll leave it at that.
Lock your
Tw-
mailboxes.
yeah, 2024 should be an interesting year. That's for sure. But let's get into the next one. I've been dealing with a lot of this now. U.S. solar installations hit a record, but slowdown expected starting in 2026, they're reporting. So the solar industry obviously has been booming. I've been seeing a lot more and getting a lot more requests on information for solar in my general area as well. And I'm sure Nate is, us being me being in Florida, the Sunshine State. People are more and more curious about solar, saving money. Here, the electric companies pay them back over time. There's a lot of benefits to it. A hurricane comes, panels can withstand it, and they're basically the storm passes and you have power. So when a lot of people on the regular power grid usually lose it for a few days to over a week. So
Oh
there's a
wow.
lot of there's a lot of benefits to it. Obviously there's a lot of houses on propane. We do buried tanks where we're at. There's natural gas in some areas of Naples, but
And generators and stuff.
yeah, they have generators, stuff like that. But with the solar and the backup batteries, there's a lot of interesting elements to it, not just of this cost savings in general, but just to weather through a storm and the durability. And I mean, we just did a video on Tesla roof tiles. You saw that, where we were throwing
Yeah,
rocks at
that was
the
awesome,
Tesla
man.
tiles.
That was what, the
And
second Tesla roof installed in Florida or something?
no, third largest.
Third largest.
Yeah, third largest in the state of Florida, and there's about to be larger. If I got another client we're building for, and he's really interested in it too, and his house is actually bigger too. And but it's pretty cool to learn about. I never really was familiar with it. I just had clients kind of requesting it, asking about it because they've seen it, and now it's starting to pop up more and more. I mean, roofs look super clean and sleek. They're
Yeah, it
black.
looks sexy.
Yeah, they're black roofs. They have some active tiles, some non-active tiles, but uh, it was a really good job, well done, and I'm interested to kind of see once we get towards the end of the house how it all works too on that element of it.
Who
But there's a lot of
who
what's that?
designs the underlayment or the waterproofing for that roof system? Is that
It's
proprietary to Tesla?
yeah, Tesla. You have to use Tesla underlayment, which
Are
is
they It's probably ripping ass expensive.
yes, it's thicker. It's also smaller sheets, so you got to buy more of it.
Mm,
And each sheet is actually has a larger thickness than your regular underlayment. And
yeah.
Tesla, it's required for the Tesla solar
Who's
tile.
making that for them? Are they making that in house, or do they have like a DuPont or whoever making that?
I think in house because it's labeled Tesla. So I mean,
Oh wow.
if DuPont had their name or their
Like
mark, they'd have it
Tyvek or
somewhere.
whoever, right? Like maybe
Yeah,
they're
but this
that's
on
pretty
the
crazy.
yeah, all it was all Tesla, and every underlayment said had the Tesla logo on it. So I'm pretty sure they're doing it all in house too.
That's next level.
But even panels, stuff like that are becoming popular. But what this article says is slowdown is coming due to transformer availability. The lack of it is a widespread problem. Elevated finance costs and interconnection bottlenecks are a few of the items that are kind of slowing down solar's development, which with that, solar's not really new, but it is new, I guess, is a way to look at it. And when you really start having something coming in as fast as it does, there's going to be bottlenecks. That's there's something going to come where something doesn't work right or something happens. But um, I like solar. I think it's a great thing. Obviously, it takes time. There's some people, a lot of naysayers on it. I'm sure. Feel free to comment on it, your opinions on it in the audience as well. It's because it takes time to get your money back out of it. I know that too. I think it's like 15 years or something like that, depending on the panels.
Depending,
Before
yeah.
you, yeah, it takes a lot of time. And not many, I don't know how many people live in a house. I mean, people will live in a house for 15 years, but
And it depends on how much your power is. Like growing up, my dad switched the house to solar, and we had, you know, 12 people living in the house.
yeah,
So
makes
he got
sense.
his savings back in like, I think he said like 2 years or 3 years or 2 years,
Oh,
something
wow.
crazy like that. He's like, yeah, it's almost an immediate savings because of how much our power bill is.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Yeah, with 12 people in a house, man, you have a bunch of kids, stuff like that. It's worth it. I mean, they're always perfecting it. There's different technology coming out. I know Tesla's got new batteries coming out for storage. That was actually somebody told me about that. They haven't been released, but or power walls, I should say, not batteries. And yeah, you got to be very correct with how you talk about Tesla stuff. That's what my friend that did that install told me too. So don't call the tiles Tesla tiles. You got to say they're solar roof tiles too. Otherwise, Elon gets mad, I guess. So
I get it.
we'll have to have Elon on and ask him too. So, now, man, solar. What do you got on it? What do you think, Nate? I know you're in California. Obviously, it's been around for a long time. There, popular item. What do you got?
Yeah, solar's interesting. We're doing all this advancement in the solar technology and all these, renewable resources. But the problem is that our power grid that's still, you know, interconnected to everything is way outdated.
Yeah,
And it's so massive because we've spent the last, 100 years building it that it's going to take a lot of time for it to get caught up. Um, how I feel about solar, I don't know. I'm kind of a naysayer, to be honest, about solar because I don't think it's quite there yet.
I
But I
agree.
think by the time it becomes an issue, the technology will be there. I mean, there's not really too many other options we have, right? But we can't rely on fossil fuels for certain things. I think they serve their purpose in construction equipment. In certain areas you have to use fossil fuels, but in other areas I think solar, wind energy, all this other stuff is like we have to do it, otherwise we're going to have bigger problems. A few of the issues that I found with it, though, let's see here. So it's about like a 30-year, 25 to 30-year life cycle for the panels. The biggest problem, besides it not being interconnected to the power grid and how outdated our grid system is, the other bigger problem is 30-year life cycle. In that 30 years, you could see how many people are buying solar year to year, quarter to quarter. And then in 30 years, all of that is going to be waste. All of
Mm,
that's going to end up in the landfill because it's not easily recycled. All right. So it costs like 10 to $20 to recycle a panel. And then it's only worth like $2 to $4 of recycled material in the panel. So it's
mm.
very labor intensive. You're actually negative if you try to make money on recycling solar panels. And then to throw them in the landfill only costs $1 to $2 a panel. So, you know, over 90% of our solar panels, when they go bad, are going to the landfill. So that doesn't solve, it solves part of one green initiative issue and then creates a whole nother issue. Okay. Now, to dive into that more, an article from Harvard Business. By 2035, disregarded panels would outweigh new units sold by 2.5 times.
Wow.
So by 2035, there's going to be 2.5 times more discarded panels than there is, new units, right? Because you're replacing the old with new, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. In turn, this would catapult the LCOE, which is the leverage cost of energy. Okay, leverage cost of energy is a measurement of the overall cost of an energy producing asset over its lifespan. So over that lifespan, from it being, a green standpoint, you're actually in the red because of the, recyclability aspect of it, where you can't really recycle it efficiently. So, we have 10 years till we get there, 11 years till we get there, and it's a massive problem. But, you know, currently there's no major solution for that I know of. I'm sure Elon Musk or some genius
He'll
will
come up
figure it
with
out.
something, yeah. But
But
that is good to know. Like with the Tesla solar, the Tesla tiles, they are the solar roof tiles. They have a 25-year warranty on them. So there goes into effect your 25 to 30-year lifespan. But that's the thing too with the technology on these things, it's always improving over
that is
time as
true. Yeah.
well. So you put up solar panels today, in 5 years they'll probably be whole different type of panel, whole different type of power wall, whole different type of feature that is better than what you have currently, because the technology literally is nonstop with this stuff too, and they're always developing, coming out with better stuff, better storage, and quicker
It,
turnaround times too.
yeah, it's really just the way they're constructed, right? They're made
Hmm.
of glass, a silicone element, and then like different electrical elements. And glass is never cost effective to recycle because it's so cheap and easy to get.
Yeah.
And the aluminum or on the framing or anything like that is in such a small quantity that it's super labor intensive to like disassemble it. So someone needs to recreate the whole system, or the federal government needs to get in and make everybody's system have more recyclability um, built into the design of it. Otherwise we'll just have a whole nother problem.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure there's so much on this topic too. We got a good reaction on
yeah.
the solar equipment topic, so we'd love to hear you guys' opinion on this topic as far as solar going on homes and on buildings and so on as well. So let us know what y'all think, and yeah, we'll touch base on it on the next episode. But Nate, you got anything else to wrap this one up?
No, man, I think that's it. Did we get any? I don't know if we have too many comments to respond back to or questions, anything.
We definitely got comments, but I didn't take my time to go and research them because we will save it for the next episode. So I figured this one would be a little bit longer anyway,
Oh,
and we'll
yeah, that
save it
works.
because we're gonna start chopping up. We got something coming up for you guys where we're gonna start doing more monthly type topics to kind of hit on, strategize on, give you guys a lot of great info, kind of what Nate and I are going through growing our businesses, so we can share it with you guys, and hopefully you avoid the mistakes that Nate and I have made along the way. That's the whole point of this and Top Contractor School podcast. Appreciate you all for listening. We will see you guys on the next episode.